For the past few days after the last court case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I have seen very important personalities advising Omotosho on the sensitivity of this case and why he should be careful on any action he is about to take, because right now he is the face of the case, not the people pulling the strings behind his back. And most recently, Nnamdi Kanu's international lawyer by name of Bruce Fain, yes, barrister or lawyer Bruce Fain, an American lawyer, one who has stood firmly with Nnamdi Kanu throughout the years. Yes, he wrote an open letter to Omotosho. You can imagine. He wrote an open letter cautioning Omotosho on the consequences of any negative judgment he is thinking or is about to declare on Nnamdi Kanu's case in the coming days. I will read that letter to you. But for many of you who do not know Bruce Fain, this man was the one that was meant to represent Nnamdi Kanu in court, but he was kicked out on the first day he came, citing that he is not a Nigerian lawyer. He is not called to bar in Nigeria. He was thrown out of the court, and since then, the man has been advocating for Nnamdi Kanu's release in the UN, the US, and many things that the man has achieved for Nnamdi Kanu that we are celebrating today, many of the judgments outside the country. It is this man called Bruce Fain that has made it possible. I'm also going to give you 5 shocking impacts that Bruce Fain has done for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Many of them you know, many you do not know that he was actually the one that did it. But for now, let me read the open, point-blank letter that Bruce Fain, wrote to Omotosho. Listen to this. Bruce Fain, the U.S. consul to the detained leader of the IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has written to Justice James Omotosho of Nigeria's Federal High Court in Abuja, demanding the dismissal of all charges against the IPOB leader on grounds of lack of jurisdiction. In a letter dated October 28, 2025, and titled Dismissal of Prosecution of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for Lack of Jurisdiction, Fain argued that the Nigerian government should not benefit from what he described as its own criminality in the process that led to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's rendition to Nigeria. He wrote, and I quote, "No government should profit from its own criminality. That has been a binding law from time immemorial." Bruce Fain wrote that in an attempt to invoke the principle that justice is the foundation of government and civil society. Citing the 1928 opinion of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis D. Brandeis in Olmstead versus United States, Fain emphasized that governments undermine the rule of law when they themselves break it. He said, "In a government of laws, the existence of the government will be imperiled if it fails to observe the law scrupulously. Our government is the potent, omnipresent teacher. For good or for ill, it teaches the whole people by its example. Crime is contagious. If the government becomes a lawbreaker, it breeds contempt for law. It invites every man to become a law unto himself. It invites anarchy." To declare that in the administration of the criminal law, the end justifies the means, to declare that the government may commit crimes in order to secure the conviction of a private criminal would bring terrible retribution. Fain quoted from Justice Brandeis' ruling. Bruce Fain also argued that both the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention and Nigerian courts have recognized that the federal government committed multiple crimes in bringing Kanu into Nigeria custody, including kidnapping, torture, and extraordinary rendition. According to Fain, these constitute just cogent crimes under international law. Offenses so grave that no state can lawfully commit them, and therefore strip Nigerian courts of any jurisdiction to continue prosecuting Kanu. He cited paragraph 107 of the UN Working Group's July 20th, 2022 opinion, which directed the Nigerian government to grant the immediate unconditional release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Bruce Fain further warned Justice Omotosho that continuing the case would implicate the court in alleged illegalities of Kanu's rendition. He said, "If you refrain from dismissing all outstanding charges against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for lack of jurisdiction, you will be legally implicated in the crimes perpetrated by the government of Nigeria in bringing Nnamdi Kanu before your trial." He said, and I quote, "You will be vulnerable to prosecution before International Criminal Court. You will have been unfaithful to your professional duty to see that justice is done." These are the words of Barrister Bruce Fain, Nnamdi Kanu's international American advocate and lawyer, a loyal man who has stood beside Nnamdi Kanu over the years. He has lent his voice, and he has always been lending his voice. But, looking at the case is winding down, he felt it wise also to lend his voice in a very large way to warning Omotosho on the implications of giving a judgment, knowing very well that the case of this caliber is not just a normal case, it's a political case, and that the world is watching on any decision that he is going to take, that he should be careful because people who are pulling the strings behind his back may not be the ones that may suffer the consequences of his actions. Also saying that Omotosho, you still have many more years to go in your legal practice. You should not be dragged into such a case that is bigger than you. Nnamdi Kanu's case is far bigger than anything you have ever handled in your life. I'm telling you the fact. So this case, if I were you, I will pull myself out, I will recuse myself, and I will mind my business and allow the government to do what they want to do, because I don't think any judge in his right senses should soak his hand in this matter. Even the great Pontius Pilate washed his hands out of the matter and the case of Jesus Christ, if you remember. Even the great Pontius Pilate washed his hand away. So who are you not to wash your hand away? Bruce Fain has been a loyal servant over the years, and I want to give you 5 notable, things he has done for Nnamdi Kanu and the Igbo race in general. Yes, it will surprise you to know that many of the things we enjoy today, many of the joy that we got as Nnamdi Kanu supporters, as Biafrans, as Igbos, was done, by the doggedness, by the hard fighting stance and nature of this man called Bruce Fain. Yes, but like every typical white man, they don't like taking the praise. They walk in silence. But I'm here to bring out that praise. I'm here to sing his praise by listing out at least 5 shocking things he has done that will surprise you. So listen. Number 1, internationalization of Nnamdi Kanu's case. Bruce Fain successfully moved Kanu's case beyond Nigeria's borders, framing it as an international human rights and legal case, not just a domestic political matter. He submitted petitions and briefs to the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, to the United Nations Human Rights Council, and other international bodies calling for Kanu's release and investigation into his extraordinary rendition from Kenya in 2021. Number 2, United Nations Opinion on Kanu's Detention 2022. Bruce Fain's advocacy helped influence the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention 2022 resolution, which declared that Kanu's arrest in Kenya and transfer to Nigeria was illegal. Yes, you are surprised. It was Bruce Fain that got us that UN resolution in 2022, a year after he was kidnapped. That UN resolution that still stands today, that declared that Nnamdi Kanu's extraordinary rendition from Kenya, was criminal, it was illegal, and should not stand. That resolution is on the UN now. It is Bruce Fain that got that, that resolution for us. He has been working in silence. And yes, many of you know about that, but you do not know that it was Bruce Fain that actually got it. So that is for you to know. He also got a UN resolution that declared that his detention violated international law, and also that the Nigerian government should release him immediately and compensate him. This was a landmark international validation of Kanu's claims, and Fain's legal documentation and lobbying played a central role. So you see that Nnamdi Kanu, got this judgment from the UN, which stands till today, although has not been implemented by Nigerian government, but it still stands. It was Bruce Fain that actually fought hard for that UN resolution. Also, number 3, pressure on the US government to act. Bruce Fain has persistently lobbied the US Congress, the State Department, and international human rights organizations to hold Nigeria accountable for what he calls extraordinary rendition and human rights abuses. He filed reports and made public statements urging the US to sanction Nigerian officials involved in Kanu's abduction, invoking the Magnitsky Act and other international laws. Number 4, building global media awareness. Through many interviews with, international outlets like CNN, BBC, Fox, and others, and frequent press briefings, Bruce Fain has ensured that Kanu's case stays alive in the global media space, presenting it as a test of international law, justice, and self-determination rights. This has helped sustain international pressure on the Nigerian government and expose the human rights angle to global audience. And number 5, legal and strategic advisory to IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu's team. Bruce Fain provides legal strategy and international law guidance to Kanu's Nigerian lawyers, particularly on the legality of extraordinary rendition, the humanitarian law arguments, and leveraging international mechanisms to pressure the Nigerian judiciary and executive. He continues to advise on possible recourse through international courts if domestic justice fails. So you see that Bruce Fain is not in the dark. He is there, omnipresent, always there. And I remember the day that he was kicked out of the High Court, Abuja, because they did not want him to defend Nnamdi Kanu, saying that he is, an outsider. But I know that the reason why they kicked him out was because they know that any court, they know that the man is capable, that the man is a man of timber and caliber, and he has been very vocal about Nnamdi Kanu's case. And they don't want anybody who is vocal. I have told you many times that these people do not like it when you are vocal. That is why we have to be vocal. Because your enemies do not like something, that means it is working against them. Bruce Fain is a very vocal man. And you see why I have been canvassing for vocality when it comes to representing Maaz Nnamdi Kanu. You cannot battle Nigeria silently. Nigeria is not a country for the quiet people. Nigeria is a country for people who can fight for their rights. If you are silent in Nigeria, you'll be sidelined in Nigeria. That is how it works. And this is an appreciation to, Bruce Fain for standing strong all these years, for standing, united with the Igbo race all these years. After all these years that you still believe in Nnamdi Kanu and you still lend your support one way or the other. I know that by now, maybe you are not being paid, you are not being given anything. I know, definitely. I know that it's just the pure love you have for us, the pure love you have for the truth, and the pure love you have for what Maaz Nnamdi Kanu stands for, that makes you to want to lend your voice in this kind of time. And we see the efforts you're making and the impact already it's generating from the American government, the American Senate, the American Assembly. We see the efforts you're making and how it's already, yielding gains for Maaz Nnamdi Kanu's case. And we thank you also for the UN resolution you got in 2022. That was one of the first victories we got, and for Nnamdi Kanu coming at that particular time from the UN was a masterstroke. It shows that you are a man of heavyweight. We appreciate you very well. God bless you, Bruce Fain. And we believe that in the coming Biafra, you are going to be given a citizenship, one that you merited for all these years. As we await the 4th of November for Nnamdi Kanu's case, I want us to pray without ceasing. Add him to your prayers, Nnamdi Kanu to your prayers, and every time you pray, mention his name, because prayers work. Because the Bible says that prayer is the key. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Turn on notifications, select the bell that says all to get notified whenever we release a video. I have been your host, Sh0Cked Judiciary. Thank you for watching my video. So I see you next one.